Hey, trans youth. We as trans people have a very wide perspective on a lot of different things. And over the course and history and years of Trans Youth Channel, I certainly hope that a lot of our ally followers in the audience are also the same way. We have a different perspective on things. And coming from that perspective, it's really difficult to look at the perspective of society and not have any harsh opinions about it. And that's what this topic is about. This topic is something I am adamant about. It's something I feel very passionate about, and it's something I have studied quite often. How do we, as transgendered individuals who understand the full spectrum of gender identity and sexuality, tackle problems in main society that are based upon the binary gender system? This includes things like the glass ceiling, hyperfemininity, hypermasculinity. This includes jobs in various different areas, the pay scales that are given based upon gender, and even areas to go into. We, as transgendered people, have experienced in our previous lives, as well as our other lives, both male and female positions. We understand the capabilities of a female and the capabilities of a male in various different areas of society. So this is something, once again, that I'm very passionate about, and I'm really happy that it was brought up. And especially when it comes to hypermasculinity, hyperfemininity, and the glass ceiling, I definitely have very changed opinions in relation to a lot of the public. Now, the public opinion on the glass ceiling basically says that females cannot continue past a certain position because companies and other businesses are primarily hierarchical. I personally feel that as a trans individual, the gender really doesn't have a sway in one way or the other on a small business perspective. When it comes to doing a board meeting, a girl is just as easily able to do it as a guy. And a lot of those times when you consider gender in those small group environments, being a girl doesn't have as much as a pull anymore. And a lot of people do feel that it does change almost immediately just regarding a female standing up and giving a presentation. But the fact of the matter is, it's a lot less the gender and a lot more the communication style that comes from each individual's backgrounds. Now, the glass ceiling in and of itself is an issue. Don't get me wrong. I feel like it's something that does not need to exist. But I also feel that simply saying that it's just girls who can't stay underneath or can't progress forward is a little bit alienating toward a lot of the other individuals. For instance, trans or LGBT individuals. The glass ceiling has a lot to do with our actual societal norms on various different levels. You can be denied a same corporate position or especially a position in politics based purely on the fact that at some point in your history, you ended up with a felony. And likewise, it occurs for the glass ceiling with various different other types of things. When you're talking about the glass ceiling in a gender-based area, you also have to recognize that those people who are saying they're being discriminated against due to the glass ceiling based upon their gender have other cultural alternatives as well. Many people who are looking to progress up and further have a certain personality, and that personality is multi-dimensional, and there's various different things that will change the modes of the people who are applying to those higher positions in order to get them. So what is gender's actual reaction to the glass ceiling in and of itself specifically? It's because of a historical context. Because historically women have been in lower roles, and because the hierarchy has been what's blamed for this, many individuals consider the glass ceiling to be a gender-based issue. However, coming from a transgender perspective, I have seen more than just girls being trapped in that glass ceiling. There is discrimination based upon promotion all the time. And a lot of times the majority of the issue is not necessarily just because of their gender or their sex or the way that they look or appear, but much more because of the way that they're coming off to those individuals. It's a communications and a culture issue as opposed to just gender. Now, when it comes to hyperfemininity and hypermasculinity, this equals a problem as well, because this is the very foundation of what produces the gender binary. We all know that the gender binary is a very outdated system. Not a lot of people want to be around you. And I really hope I can say this on YouTube, but you're either a total dick or you're a total bitch. and that's not something that needs to happen. When it comes to putting makeup on every single day, spending 3 hours on your hair, having outfits and things like that, that is a personal choice. That's not necessarily hyperfemininity. When it is someone who's sitting on a bus defending their rights as a woman, despite the fact that their rights aren't really being removed and it's just kind of helping the society interrogate them more, that is hyperfemininity. And that is the individual's perception of what the society is pushing on them that is not necessarily congruent with the environment and the situation. In layman's terms, you're thinking things that aren't really happening because you feel the need to defend yourself a little bit too much, so calm down. Personally, I had this issue a lot when I was in the very beginnings, and I actually posted a video on my personal channel called The Bitch Phase, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. Because you are assuming a gender, because you're assuming this idea, a lot of people early in their transitions will go through this phase of either hyperfemininity or hypermasculinity because they don't really think about the options in between. They don't think about what a guy really does. They just say, well, I'm a girl and I'm becoming a guy, so I really, really need to defend that position. Or likewise, for non-transsexual individuals, maybe it's just, no, I will not pick a gender, screw you, rebellion. Honestly, as you can see, I can just go on and on and on about all of this, but really what it just boils down to, when it comes to looking at the gender binary as a system, it just collapses because it's black and white thinking. It's looking at either this or this. And when you're this or this, you tend to start making assumptions that are not necessarily correct or true to those positions if you're new incoming. If you feel like you are trapped in any of these positions, if you're trapped as a woman and the glass ceiling is right above you and you can't continue, step back. Take a look at what's going on. Take a look at how your boss is really viewing you. You're working hard, you're working fast, you're working strong, but at the same time, your communication styles, when you show them, shows that you are so strong a person, you may not be completely collaborative. You're not laughing as often as you should be in the office place, and maybe that's just what needs to happen. Likewise, you can also look at various other bits of information. And if you run a small business and you want to stop that glass ceiling or that hypermasculinity, hyperfemininity way of thinking, start talking about those middle grounds. Start talking about the glass ceiling, saying that if you want to raise in pay, if you want to raise in pay scale, talk to people. Don't necessarily just say, I have not gained a raise in 3 years. Say, so I've been working here 3 years and I would like to have a raise, and I'd like to know what steps need to be taken to do that. I hope you guys don't mind. I just did a communication splurge and a lot of people may not agree with me, and I totally want to hear about that. Just toss it down here. I understand that this is actually very idealistic, and in a lot of cases, realism is out there. There is going to be that boss who is just a little bit of a gender racist, and there is going to be that boss who may not completely understand what they're perpetuating in their company. There are also going to be those individuals who feel they need to fight for their rights no matter what happens or what they do. And we're always going to have that. We're always going to have extremists. And I want to hear from them. I want to hear from them because they are showing issues in a very bold and just manner that allows us to pull a lot more reason out of it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. I hope you guys rather enjoyed it, and I will see you next week. I look very forward to every other blogger's choice on it. Which reminds me, here at the end of the video, we have instructions in the description to apply for us here at Trans Youth Channel. We now have 3 blogging positions open that we are planning to close here in the next week, so get those applications in. And we're looking for brand new wildcards if you feel like you might be interested.